wondering, why are you black? And this is the question that most people are still being asked up to this day. The hospitals is like a public thing because everyone will be there and everyone will listen to your business. There was a challenge. I have the license. I got the license, but I don't have the car. I was just one of the person who also had believed that something can be impossible because of where you come from. Right. They all believed that Africa was like one giant country and Hello guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Simply Rhoda and I'm outside. Great, it's about to rain in China and I have some errands I need to do, so I took some time off from my work. I am rushing now, but today I took it as a chance for us to have another chit chat. So let's have this chit chat while I'm driving, and yeah, I'll take you with me where I'm going so you can see, guys. And another thing I want to say is thank you guys for continuing to support. The support you are giving for my channel is really tremendous, and I'm touched, guys. I'm touched by your support, y'all. Today I decided to do another chit chat with you. In fact, I want to dedicate Wednesdays to be chit chatting, guys. You know, I've lived in China for over 10 years now. I can say, to be specific, it should be around 15 or 16 years of me living in China. Living in a place for such a long time, and all these 16 years I've lived and I've spent them in one city, so you can understand how much experience and knowledge I've gathered around these years living in one place. Of course, I have been visiting other places in China, like other cities in China, but I'll always come back to Weihai. And again, the other pulling factor is because my husband is from this place, is from Weihai. I'm married here. For those who are new to my channel, I'm married here, hence the reason for me to stay in China that long. Yes, you can say, wow, Rhoda, 16 years in China. Yes, 16 years. It seems a lot, and it just feels like yesterday when I started living in China. But anyway, there are a lot of good things and bad things that happened during these 16 years, and I can say the most thing that was hard for me was to adjust. Actually, over the years, I came to terms to adjusting and also getting comfortable living in this country and this city specifically. So today I'm going to be sharing bits and parts of the things that I got used to when I moved to China, and some of them used to feel weird, but now it kind of feels very much okay, because I've been around for quite some time, so I've gotten used to them. And some of them, no matter how long I've lived in China, I still cannot get accustomed to those things. So now let's start with the things. I think for everybody who has moved to any other country, I think you may agree or disagree with me with some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So yeah, let's start with the first thing that was a shock for me when I first came to China. You know, the first thing was the way they celebrate the holidays. I think in my past video I also stated that the day I first learned it in China was Chinese New Year. It was during the Chinese New Year, and I was really shocked to know that celebrating Chinese New Year is a big deal in China. It's a big thing. It was actually huge. Firecrackers will be, you know, everywhere. Will be blasting every corner of the city or every place, you know, like the weather will totally change, like the environment. You'll be just smelling like gunpowder everywhere because they will be celebrating. I also learned that the Chinese culture is kind of strong on some beliefs, you know. I don't know whether it's true or not, but they do have this belief that they go by, and you can't change them on that. So for them, they believe that lighting up firecrackers, you know, fireworks, I mean, that's the word I can use that's easier to understand, fireworks, and blasting them all the time, actually didn't have the schedule to do that, but they would just, if somebody is in their house and they just decide that they want to chase the ghosts or the evil spirit, they just go, regardless of the time. They'll just go out and start blasting the firecrackers. So yeah, this was something that was a shock for me when I first come here. I didn't know about that culture and the meaning of doing that. Apparently, to Chinese people, they believe that evil spirits can be chased with these loud sounds, like these firecrackers can actually chase them to go back where they come from. So yeah, when it happened, it was a shocker for me, and I didn't understand. To me, I just thought that was war, that was just starting, you know. And then the second thing that took me quite long to get by was the food. Yes, you know, I think in any culture there are specific ways and the type of food people eat, and you find that if you didn't grow up in that environment, it may be hard to get accustomed to that. So for me, yes, it was food. I think the period where I gained so much weight, the time I moved to China, was during the first 6 months of living in this country. I literally survived on fast food. Luckily there was KFC, but the taste was a bit different from how I was accustomed to, you know. And so eating KFC here was closer to getting food that I was accustomed to. So yes, I think the first 6 months I was literally surviving on KFC, you know. The Chinese food, yes, I had the taste of Chinese food back in Zimbabwe, but to be honest with you, the Chinese food that we eat outside of China is really not authentic, and it's nothing even closer to the real authentic Chinese food in China. But it took me time. I think I was looking for some kinds of Chinese food that we were buying in Zimbabwe then, and I couldn't find any that is similar to those things, you know. So yeah, and gradually I got used to, you know, I started to introducing myself to different dishes, and to be honest, I quickly get along with it because I was gaining weight, because every day I was eating KFC hamburgers, chicken. You can imagine, guys. So I was gaining weight really fast. That was not my plan, so I had to come back with a, you know, I had to find a comeback plan. Yeah, like, you know, in Zimbabwe we like to eat salsa, but it was very hard also to find you know, wufu, like the the maize meal. It was really hard to find that. I remember at some point I went to the supermarket, I saw the yellow one, and then I remember that in Zimbabwe there was a time where when there was shortages of food or even the meal, and we were eating the white corn meal, you know. So when I saw it in the supermarket, I went on to buy, but to my surprise, it wasn't the corn meal that we were used to. It was like a bean something, so it didn't come out well, and I didn't like it, so I gave up on trying, you know. But later on, we started to bring the meal from Zimbabwe, and we would, you know, the bags would be full of like 10 kg of wufu and stuff, and yeah, then we try to just bring some dried vegetables. But then at that time it was also hard to bring some like of these things, them condiments and some dried things from outside. I think at the airport it was a matter of being lucky, you know, that you may be allowed to pass through with it, or most of the thing were being confiscated at the airports. So it was just luck, you know, to be able to go past the customs with it when you get here. Of course, living in Zimbabwe was okay, you could live with those stuff, but getting in China was really hard. Unlike nowadays, I think because of the improvement in technology and stuff like that, they don't even take those things. We can actually come with those things easily now. But anyway, we already found ways to get the white corn meal. It's found here in China. Now we have a way to get that, so now we don't even need to bring those wufu from Zimbabwe, because we can get all that, and we cook salsa every day in our homes here as foreigners. So yeah, now let's go to the third thing. The third thing that was really hard for me to adjust to was bank visits. Oh my God. Because our names are different from Chinese names. So it was really hard. Like if you have something that you needed to have fixed at the bank, or you have some queries at the bank, you always had to like plan ahead. That you had to set aside a day or so for a bank visit. That was the most dragging, most cumbersome thing to do. Going to the bank, y'all, it was the hardest thing ever. Because of our names, the system was not accepting our long names. You find your surname and your first name, and your passport users, because you're not using the Chinese ID. Oh my God, that was the most cumbersome thing to do ever. But to be honest, over the years, this part has gradually improved, and also the online banking. And now China is using a very good system that you don't even need to go to the bank unless otherwise, but you can actually spend a year or so without stepping your foot in the bank, because all this you can literally do them on your phone. You can do those transactions on your phone, so you don't really need to go to the bank in person to do these transactions. So thankfully, because going to the bank was something that was really dreadful, and each time we go to the bank, writing your name wasn't that a problem, like using the uppercase and the lowercase. Here in China, it was a problem. Like if you write your name with lowercase, oh my God, you have to start again. You have to write everything in uppercase. Sometimes if you write, I don't know, I really don't know what was the fuss about, because for us, when you look at that, I can still read it. Like I know that my name should start with a capital letter, right, in uppercase, right, but the rest will be lowercase. But in China, that was the most unacceptable thing. So like your name should be in uppercase throughout. So that was the most dreadful thing. Like thinking of going to the bank in China, ask any foreigner, they'll tell you their experience on that. And if you relate, hit that like button, as well as put your comment section and share your experience with the banks in China. But now, to be honest, everything has changed. Like I said, it has improved and it has changed greatly. That is like a 360 degrees change. Now it's the most convenient thing to do, because you can literally do it in your house. But we still have the limitation as foreigners to send money out of the country. It's so hard. It's really hard. Even receiving money from abroad is another thing. It's another story of another day. But if you're just doing your bankings here in China and stuff, that is not a problem at all. Okay, the fourth thing that I found so hard to get by, but as time goes on, I got used to it. That is the steering. Guys, if you came to China 10 years ago or even earlier, you would tell, because at that time there weren't so many foreigners in China, I think, and also I feel like most people in China were not really accustomed or like used to seeing foreigners. So the stares was different, guys. Oh my God, the stares were scary. Like the person will look at you, literally look at you, and they stop blinking. So this is something that was really hard for me to accept. Like even working outside, you gotta have like multiple, like thousands of eyes will be staring at you, and some will even have the guts to follow you or to come to closer to you. Worse, that I am a person of color, some will be like wondering, why are you black? And this is the question that most people are still being asked up to this day. Like they are being asked, why are you black? Some will even ask that maybe there's no water where you come from. And for, mind you, in China, it's only recently that some came to understand that not all blacks are from Africa, right? Not all blacks are from Africa. But anyway, literally, most blacks, they all come from Africa, right? But there are also some that are Black Americans from England and from other parts of the world, right? But it was really hard for Chinese to understand the differences, because to them, they just felt like if you're black, it means you're from Africa. And the reason for that are outrageous. We're outrageous at that time. They'll think maybe you are black just because you don't have water, you don't take a shower, or you're black because it's so hot in Africa and all these nasty things were labeled about Africa. And I don't blame some of them. It is because of what they were taught, what the media was teaching them, so they all go along with the flow. And it was not easy for them to actually do their own checks or like to find out, and it's unlike nowadays. People are traveling, and I mean more and more Chinese people are traveling abroad, and they are getting to learn more about cultures, countries, and stuff like that, because most Chinese people at that time, they all believed that Africa was like one giant country, and everybody who comes from there is either coming out of poverty. There isn't any good thing about that. So yeah, states were there. Even now they're still there, but you must find that if you see somebody looking at you in that way, there is a chance that that person is from the countryside where they don't have exposure to foreigners and tourists and stuff like that. So when you get that, there is a chance that there is a, can I say 99% chance that that person is not from the city. So they will probably be seeing a foreigner for the first time, hence the look will be that, the staring will be that. So yes, now let's look at the next thing. The next thing was driving in China. This one, I was not gonna leave this one out. That is the fourth thing, right? Fourth or fifth, I lost count now. Yeah, so this one I was not gonna lose count. I was not gonna leave this one out. Yeah, driving in China. I want to say I am very thankful for being able to drive in this country. In fact, why I decided to mention this, because today is the 10th year anniversary for me driving in China. Yes, the 10th year anniversary of me driving in China. Yes, I've had experiences, like most people ask me, oh Rhoda, you are so strong, it's not easy to see a woman driving in China. I've gotten used to that crazy, but there has been some mishaps and challenges here and there, and I'm gonna talk about them, some of them right now, right here. So yeah, I have had experience. Okay, how did it start and how did I do it? Of course, I was always driving back in my country. I started driving when I was like 17 years old. So yeah, I was driving. I had a license, and I always wanted to drive wherever I live, regardless of what country or where. But at some point I realized, okay, in China they are left-handed. I mean, I was just one of the person who also had believed that something can be impossible because of where you come from, right? So in China they are left-handed, they drive on the left. Yet in Zimbabwe we are right-handed, right? So I thought maybe it could be very impossible for me to drive in China, looking at that difference, right? Then one day I was teaching, I think that was in my 4th year in China. I was teaching an adult that was a man, okay, a man who had this international, company that does business with internationally. Okay, I can say it's like a designing company that they were doing international designs and stuff, but he was limited because of language. Of course, he had staff that could speak English on his behalf, but he had reached that point that he wanted to, to be involved, to be part of this and be able to communicate with the customers and stuff. So that's when he found me, and yeah, so I was teaching him, and one day we were talking about the hardships of moving by and stuff, because I had to juggle school, juggle that part-time job in the company, and most of the time he would come to pick me from my university to his company, right? He would come to my school to pick me, like after I finished school, because of the time. He was a busy man, I was a busy student, so during my breaks he would drive and wait for me at the gate and pick me to his office. So this was like an everyday thing. He had paid for like 3 months of studying every day, and he didn't want to waste any time, so he decided, if you are gonna catch a bus or a taxi, it's gonna be expensive, so I'll just come pick you every day, and we go to my office to study, and then you drop me back at school. So that was a very good setup, until one day we were just talking on our way from my school to his office, and we're like, oh teacher, do you know how to drive? So I told him, yeah, I can drive. I I was driving in my country before coming here, but I never attempted here. I think it's impossible. Then he said, oh, I have a friend who works at the vehicle registration and blah blah blah, where the driver testing happens. And he said, no, I think I can help you. We can try. Then I was like, oh, are you sure? So yeah, I'll ask. So when we got to his office, the first thing he did was to call to confirm that whether foreigners can learn how to drive here in China, especially if the foreigner can drive already, can their licenses be changed to Chinese and drive here? And we got a very pleasant answer that right day. And the friend said, yeah, she can. She only need to have a license translated and take a written test. That's it. If she scores, because the total score for that is like 100. If I score about 90 and above, I can get my license immediately. So that meant I'm like, oh, Rhoda, are you ready? I can help you. So he was more than a student to me at that time, because now he was like a brother to me, and he was really concerned about my well-being. So yeah, so he said, okay, what we're gonna do is tomorrow I'm gonna dedicate my class time. We will go to the vehicle registration place and your testing place to check out how the test is like and stuff like that. And luckily the test was being done on the computer, so he was like, okay, we can go and check it out. So I'm like, I need to study, because I know in China you're left-handed and in Zimbabwe we are right-handed, so there must be some differences. And I'm like, okay, we can go check it out and see if they do have study materials and stuff, so it can help you to best prepare. So I'm like, okay, let's go. So that night I just went online and search up about the possible questions that are asking the Chinese test and stuff like that. And luckily they did have an English version, but when we got there, they told me they do not have an English booklet for that matter. So I needed to, to just study on my own, or find some ways to study, and then just go and take up the test. So I did exactly that. So that evening I dedicate myself to just do a research online, look for possible and other people's experiences, possible questions and stuff, and I educate myself. So I knew I had an idea, but I wasn't ready for the test. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna go. But the reason for going for me was to see how it's like. So I wasn't ready to pass this test. I knew I was going to fail this test, but I wanted to see how it was like. So we went, and to cut the story short, I did a first attempt of the tests, and guess what, guys? I scored. I was just guessing, right? It's written online, so I just wanted to see the type of the question. So I took the test, right? And the moment I submitted my paper online on the computer, the moment I pressed submit, my score came to the screen. I got 94%. Guys, I was over the moon. And that very day I got my license, and I walked out a licensed driver in China. That was something that made me really excited and happy. So we drove back to his office. Now there was a challenge. I have the license. I got the license, but I don't have the car. That was another challenge. So I started to have, and this man, like I say, he had literally become my brother. I wish I was on YouTube at that time, guys. You could have seen him. And I feel like these are people that will just like you and help you regardless of where you come from. He actually helped me, and I feel, as I'm speaking to you right now, I really feel bad. I think I should try to look for him. I should try to look for him and just let him know that I'm doing okay. I'm still in China, I'm married. He never knew about all this information, because we only had this student-teacher relationship for like 3 consecutive months, and I am not sure whether he's still here in China or he's abroad now. I'm not sure, but I would like to find him and thank him if I get the chance. So yeah, so fast forward, I had my license, but I was still taking the public transportation, guys. And he told me, Rhoda, I can give you one of the cars. And I felt really bad to accept that car, So I just said, no, it's okay. I'm still a student anyway. So yes, I got my first car 2 years after I got the license. I got my first car, my first brand new car, guys. So yeah, 2 years later, I started driving, and I never stopped driving. So now, to say the truth, it's been like 10 years after I got my license in China. So I'm celebrating that. So yes, now let's look at another thing. The next thing was the hospital, visiting the hospital. Guys, visiting the hospital was always not pleasant here in China. One, it was the limitation of the language. Two, it was lack of privacy, because each time you go to hospitals in China, unlike in Zimbabwe, when you are visiting the doctor or what hospital, you will have to go inside, right, and close the door. So whatever you are going to talk to the doctor is confidential things. You can talk freely to the doctor, right, and put all your trust in the doctor. But in China, visiting the hospitals is like a public thing, because everyone will be there and everyone will listen to your business, which is something that I found so hard. Even to this day, it's still happening, but I'm getting used to that. You know, when you are going to visit the doctor, you are laying out all your, all your business for everybody to hear. And being a foreigner too, most Chinese people will like to, to know, like their ears will open wider, because they want to understand what this foreigner is suffering from. Maybe they think maybe there's no sickness, or maybe you think the only sickness they think are those venereal diseases and stuff like that. So when they see you as a foreigner entering the hospital, well, they become so curious, so they want to know. I'm sure some people actually follow you to actually know, so that they know what is your problem. They follow you because they want to listen to what you are suffering from and stuff. So yeah, this is another thing also that even until this day I don't get it. I really don't get it, because I want my privacy. When I go to the hospital, I want my privacy. I want to talk to the doctor without ears, without other people listening to my business. Yeah, this is something that you just get used to it, but not really accepting it. So yeah, I wish there could be a difference. But anyway, we understand that because of the number of people here, that privacy may not come, and for them, they are okay with that. You can actually hear other people also talking about their business to the doctor. So yeah, I can say it is what it is, so we just get used to that. But for me, I don't really accept that. I just get used to it, but I don't accept that. There is a difference here. All right, now we go to the last but not least thing, guys. One thing that I found really I still find a bit harder is the reference that foreigners are given here. You are always being called as a Waigoran, and I wish this thing can change. No matter how many years I've lived here, as a foreigner, you are just being referred to as a foreigner, or you are referred to by the color of your skin. Like one day I was walking on the street, and one student from my school saw me, and she was walking with her dad, and you know what, she called me and like, hey Ren, hey teacher, like black teacher. At first I frowned and I wanted to say some nasty thing, but I just control myself, like, okay, she's a kid. But it's irregardless of her being a kid, I've heard many people or multiple people saying that. So it's like most Chinese people will actually refer you with the color of your skin, and like, oh, hey teacher, is in black. Hey means teacher, hey Ren means black person. All right, so calling names for them is kind of like natural and normal for them, but I don't see myself calling them as, oh, look at the yellow person. I think it's disrespectful, but for them, they feel like it's normal. It's really normal, no matter how you tell that they shouldn't do like that, but they still do like that. So I feel this is something that I can never get used to. I can never accept, but it is what it is, So we are called by the color of our skin, not by our names, or not by the country where we come from. We are called or referred to by the color of our skins. It's something that I really find hard at the beginning. I found it really hard to accept, but now I just realize it is what it is, and I can't change that. So I just live with that, because I live here. I know some of you may have the questions like, okay, if you really don't like that thing, why are you not moving? Again, I'll refer you back to the beginning. I'm married here. My husband is a local, so this is my home. Yes, I am living in my home. I'm also living in my husband's country, and these things happen. There's nothing I can do about it, really, but I just leave it the way they are and just mind my own business. I think it's also something that has helped me to be where I am, minding my own business, really helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. If you have watched it to this right end and you also living in a foreign country, I would love to know how you have adjusted to living in that country, and some things that you love or dislike about that country, but you can just adjust to it. I would love to know your story. What's your story, guys? This is a chit chat, and I'll see you again on Wednesday for another chit chat. So guys, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Share the channel, let's grow. And I can say your support has been notable, guys. I can feel it, I can see it, I feel it in my feet. Love is all around me. Okay, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for subscribing. Goodbye.